All right. So I got an email from you.
Yeah.
Grace.
Yeah. Hello.
Hello.
Nice to meet you.
That was the nicest. Okay, so that email was like exactly why I started the show. Cause I'm like,
good.
and also for like parents. So like once they're gone, like the kid can hear. Like I mean, like I would love to hear my dad when he was 25 and just like you know.
Yeah. And some people would think it's like kind of hard to listen to that, you know, and listen to the voice or the thoughts or the thought process of someone after they've passed. And maybe it was like, I think maybe at first, but also it was I don't know, I've just always been able to talk about it.
The slightest bit of, and that's good. Are you okay to joke about it or just talk about it?
I'm like,
cool.
Yeah, no, I've been, it's so, God, it's almost been 4 years now, I think. So
yeah. It's been, I saw him, it was next to the coffee shop. Like, I have a photo of him from probably about a week before he died. And then I went to the coffee shop a week later and just hoping to see him. And then I was like, that was, like, honest to God, my entire life, I think Joey's one of 2 people I've ever known who's died.
Wow.
It's an abstract concept.
Well, it's some people, or most people, I guess, don't go through something like this, especially at my age.
You guys were like partner, like.
Well, I met Joey, I think in was it 2018? Yeah, I think 2018. So before the pandemic.
Yeah,
like,
so you've been together like 3-4 years.
I'm 24, and so I met him when I was 18, and I was a waitress at this like restaurant diner 24-hour shop in Eugene, and he was the cook. It was a tale as old as time.
It's fun. I love it.
Yeah, and so we were together on and off for like, I think 3-ish years. But
as 18-year-olds are,
you know, we were young, and there was a considerable, I think, a little bit of an age gap, especially like in that time period.
I never knew Joey's age. It's funny enough, like when, again, I guess you came in and like we just kind of started, like I really don't know you hardly at all. Like
exactly.
I'm looking forward to getting to know you, but
Yeah.
I didn't know Joey's age. He seemed young.
27 or 28. God, I'm terrible.
I'm 27 right now.
Okay, yeah. So you guys had, he was maybe just a little bit older than you. Age and time to me are like, I'm so bad with all of them.
Yeah.
I'm bad with age. I'm bad with time. I'm bad with my phone. I'm bad with everything that's like putting you
documentation.
in
Well, here you are documenting. It's
funny.
So starting like a year. So my whole life I've like stayed up all night occasionally, you know, as people do. But starting about a year ago, because I'm like, you know, I think society lies to us about some stuff. So, but nobody questions the idea that sleep is like mandatory.
It's
like
so mandatory.
Yeah, so mandatory. Everyone's like, I'm like, my joke is that everyone's bought out by big bedtime.
Yeah.
But like starting like a year ago, I'd stay up for like 4 or 5 days in a row, like just no sleep, and like. Then time gets really interesting, I would say. Like, obviously, like, then there's, like, because then I, like, sleep for 24 hours straight.
What is it, like, the Yeti or the what is it, that one kind of sleep schedule where you sleep for, like, 2 hours and then,
so I'm, like, the opposite.
So you, like, nap in, like, frequently throughout the day?
No, so, like, during those 4 days, it'd be, like, zero sleep time.
Sleep.
But then there'd be 2 hours of sleep straight.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, it's interesting.
That's crazy.
But I'm like, everyone's always like, oh, you should batch things in your life. I'm like, okay, well, why don't I batch sleep? Because I'm like, I don't know.
I'm good at like going to bed at a certain time, being in insomnia throughout the night, and then waking up.
Really? Okay, so that's what started it all. Is I'm like, is it really more productive for me to lay here in bed all night than to just like get up and do stuff? So
yeah.
I don't know. I don't think it's for everyone. I'm sure it has downsides, but I'm like,
je ne sais pas.
Yeah, right. Like at a certain point, I'm like, I mean, we're all gonna die at some. Or like, you know, it's really weird with how much the world's just the fact. I mean, cotton because of microplastics. I'm just like, oh my god, like. 1 in 2 people are gonna get cancer. Like people alive today. I'm like,
need to get on the cotton wearing game.
You might leave knighted with a shirt if there's a well-sized one.
Fantastic.
I mean, that looks cotton or woolish.
For those who can't see, we're in a room with lots of cotton sweaters.
Yeah,
and it's really great.
You're the second guest. I might not talk about cotton without. I mean, it'd really be funny to have a guest come and just not even mention the shirts whatsoever. That's just background.
They're awesome. They're they're tie-dyed. They're beautiful. I love
appreciate it.
them.
Funny enough, they're bleached.
Gorgeous.
They're not tie-dyed.
They're
Okay.
bleach dyed.
Tie-dye is like, tie-dye's a little bit bitch made. Okay. So if you feel this is tie-dye.
Okay.
And I'll grab, a bleach, like of the same.
A bleach dye.
Yeah.
Does bleach dye have like a softer appeal to it, or
So,
yeah?
funny
Oh,
enough,
wait,
so
I see.
It's not so much even that it's softer, but when you tie-dye something, you have to soak it in soda ash, and it makes it starchy.
Feels that
Yeah, I don't like that feeling.
rough, tough
And
feeling that you feel at all the hippie dippy stores.
So I literally like bought like Synthropol. It's like it's like $20 for like a soap that's supposed to get out tie-dye.
Yes.
And also my whole main thing of like, I mean, I just started. So what do I do staying up for 4 nights in a row? I
Tie-dye.
obsessively bleach.
Bleach
It's funny.
dyeing.
My new podcast is it's not a podcast, it's a show. It's not tie-dye, it's bleach.
Yeah, exactly.
My whole life.
This is perfect.
My whole life I'm just fighting apparently like what's obvious, but like if you look at the fidelity of like the tie-dye, like it's just kind of blurry as you get up closer, like the mix between the colors.
No, it's beautiful.
Oh, are you kidding me? Tie-dye.
No,
I hate
It's beautiful. You hate it? You don't like it? The blurriness?
So,
I love it.
Like if you see
it reminds
this,
me of watercolor.
like it seems like
You're
there's
so-
such like in depth like the differences, whereas tie-dye you
The
can't get
bleach
that.
dye definitely seems a little bit more natural,
Yeah.
even though it's bleached.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. So I think so nobody's done this. So currently, and that's why I just went like full bars. I'm like, okay, so I've made something that currently doesn't exist on the market. I don't know what to do with it. I don't know how I'm going to sell it or what I'm going to do with it because I don't like selling stuff. Initially,
Yeah.
I started doing it to give it away to people. Like, so I do video, as you can tell with how much tech is in my life.
Yeah.
We do video. I do for a living. Me and my partner Kinsey. Who's
Yeah.
probably video editing in that room. See, like this
Cool.
is a different one. It's
Oh
like,
yeah, no,
tie-dye
I
can't
love
look
it.
like that.
I love it. Yeah. So on the podcast that I was listening to with you and Joey specifically, you were talking about Kenzie.
Fun.
Yeah, which was cool. And you guys have been together for like how many years now?
7 going on 8.
Wow.
It's really interesting.
Relationships are hard.
Yeah, I imagine relationships would be an extra level of hard if at a really
Relationships
early
are
age.
really hard.
You probably had I mean, does that affect going forward? Like when you like meet someone, you just kind of be like stay alive on me.
Oh my god, and my relationships are like Henry VIII. Is it Henry VIII who
Divorced a bunch of ladies?
Divorced, beheaded, died, divorced, beheaded, survived.
Yeah.
That's like my relationship history,
Wow.
except for on a much more or less dramatic scale, obviously.
You're just at, like the first step. You're at.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And like now I'm in a relationship that's like very, stable and calm and I'm like, oh, let's see what kind of ways I can fuck that up too. It's great.
Yeah. The man. So I'm curious. Is the drawer annoying for
No,
the
the
guest?
drawer?
Is it not?
Oh,
Like
no,
I mean,
I like it.
we can really pull it out and
You
just throw it away.
look great. Oh,
It's funny.
thank you.
I just put that in there because like I had like random miscellaneous like sewing stuff. And then I was like, if people look in there, I just want like, hey, you look good. Breathe.
Weirdly
chilling.
enough, I didn't know what to wear for a podcast, and I was like trying to like find an outfit for like quite some time, and I was like, wait, it's a podcast, just be comfortable.
Yeah, be chilling. Some
I
people,
think
some people, and that's part of the reason where show came from is some people would come and they'd be like, there's a video component, and then they'd like kind of like be like, can we reschedule? I'm
oh,
like,
is it a video component? I didn't even
but,
ask.
but so I don't really just
Use it,
because I don't
yeah,
shill it. I'm not
yeah,
because I would
yeah.
never do ads because I'm like, oh my
No,
god, that would kill my soul to be like,
no.
you should try Magic
So
Spoon.
you don't YouTube these or
So
anything?
this is for just I put it on YouTube, but imagine you don't post it anywhere
No.
or put any descriptions, so like
No.
the algorithm can't really pick it up. It's like, but I don't want to trust on me saving it on SSDs.
Right.
Like I want to be able to at any point in my life to be like, oh, like reference conversations or just like random ideas.
Yeah.
And plus some guests, like, I mean, if you have a spiel, like, I mean, like I have cotton, I have a bunch, I have sleep, but if you have anything that you're like, I want to document me having said that, like you having said that,
cool. Yeah.
then you have like high quality video audio of you, lower quality video. I was recording in 4K and literally the past 2 days, I've just been like clearing out like 8 terabytes of like, okay, I'm going back to shooting in 1080p. Like just lower resolution's plenty good.
That's so good. No, I hate listening to my voice on recording. Like, it's terrible.
But think about how much you value Joe. I mean, imagine you died tomorrow, and then your partner would be like, "Oh,
I hate funerals. I didn't go to his funeral. I'm like, I don't. Yeah. I'm like, that's and I don't think I went to Midas's funeral after he died.
Wait, so you've known 2 people who died?
Yeah.
Is Midas another partner or a family?
Well, no. So I met Midas at. Well, I met him. He was dating my sister, and then I met him again at Joey's vigil. Joey used to work at a coffee shop, and that's kind of how we like reignited because we
on
would
Blair
like,
or like right on,
that's Blair, the coffee shop, with like the chess tables and everything, and then like the witchy rock shop next to it, which was awesome.
Yeah,
very Eugene.
Did you just happen to stop in, or did you like knew he was there?
Well, I think
I stalked him. I found him there. And I'm like, I'm gonna go see him.
Him and I are like both like very anti-social media. Him would more so than me at the time. I think this was like, what was this? Yeah, I think this was like spring or winter of 2021.
A while ago, a little bit ago. Yeah,
a while ago. He didn't. Yeah, so I kind of found him, I think, again on Facebook, and then I had learned about him using because he made this like post about like kind of his story, and so I didn't know for like years, for like that whole time of our relationship.
Really?
Basically.
I mean, he was a manager at a restaurant while using.
Yeah, well, he was very, he was.
He's so charismatic. You didn't want to look like. I mean, he just.
And I think, God, because when did you guys do the podcast? I forget.
We did the podcast probably a year and a half before he died, and then I saw him at the coffee shop a week before he died, and then I went back to the coffee shop to try to be like, oh, hey, let's come back on the show. You were one of my favorite people.
Funny enough, I don't think I listened to the podcast until after he died. Even though like we had talked about it before he died, and like I was like putting it on the back burner
that he went on it,
like of a mental note to listen to it.
Oh, fun.
And then of course he passes away, and you're like, I don't have anything. Because we were so bad at documenting and taking pictures. He hated his picture being taken.
Yeah. So, well, I have a really good photo of him.
I have great photos of him. They actually used the photo that I took of him for all the ceremony stuff that was
the vigil.
Done.
So you didn't go to funeral, but you went to vigil. So
I went to the vigil.
Vigil's like more chiller.
Yeah. The vigil. The funeral was back home in his hometown, which I didn't really want to go. He hated Medford, so I didn't want to go back there.
Yeah,
and
that's so odd.
That's where his ashes were going to be spread. I was like, I'll just remember him in my own way here. He liked Eugene a lot.
Yeah,
and we wanted to be here. So
you know what's really interesting is you're the second person to kind of be talking about Joey. Nelson of the Nelson's Taqueria.
Oh my God, I love Nelson.
Nelson came on the show, and Nelson's like, oh, there was this young guy who would come to my shop every day, like every once in a while, like
Joey
every
had
week.
A special relationship.
Yeah, and I'm like, was his name like he just started describing him, and then he said he passed away. I'm like, was his name Joey? And Nelson said, yeah. I'm
handsome boy.
Yeah, and I'm like, it was just all in the eyes, and the just like it's really so wow. I mean, the juxtaposition. I mean, to be fair, I take Kratom, which is like a partial opiate, but it's obvious it's nothing near.
No. I've tried it before, but I haven't. Done.
Don't look for a reason to get on. So I've been taking it for like 8 years, and I'm like, it's just not.
No, it's not like I don't know. I've tried a lot of things in my life, but
you're pretty cool.
But I mean, when I met Joey's friends at the vigil, like I met so many people that like I hadn't met before, and so he kept me obviously very like away from this life. It felt like I wasn't a part of in a way, and that was a huge, I think, block in our relationship. That it's like why we kept. A part of the reason why we kept breaking up. Oh, also,
and you didn't even know that
heroin.
Yeah, so he would just maybe just like go off the radar for a couple days.
So casually, Well, I guess I've never really known like a heroin addict or
Well, you
a
have,
kind of,
funny
like
enough.
before him,
Another one, yeah.
you know, like I never really like was up close to that before. And so being up close to it when you don't even know what you're up close to, you're like, oh, I get it now.
What is it like a moodiness? Because for me, like, I mean, obviously, I'm like, if I don't have, if I'm like run out of kratom, I'm like, the delivery comes because it's legal, so I can just order it. And it's like, it gets here tomorrow. I'm like, I have a not great day. It's like I have the flu for a day. I'm like, this
no,
sucks.
he was just very manic depressive, and I think I didn't really mind that. And so whenever we would separate, it would be heartbreaking or really sad for me because I didn't mind those manic depressive, that like state that he would tell me that he'd be in, of like, I can't be there for you right now, like and I'm like, I'm like 19, I don't need you to like be there for me right now, like I'm just like going through classes and like working and like paying rent, like what, like
funny.
I was like, I didn't need to like have my hand. I was just like, oh, like you're gone again, why are you always leaving, like we could be something special.
I'm not doing the class. I'm just working and paying rent. I'm like, I need someone to hold my hand. I'm like, Jesus, this is a lot out here.
It is. No, I feel it right now. I'm like,
but you were a strong, independent 19-year-old. You don't need no heroin addict.
yeah, I didn't know what it was, you know.
I mean,
and I'd been in multiple different relationships before that, and I'd started dating at a young age, and yeah, no, my relationship history is not the I don't know. I think do I blame the selection that I was given, or do I blame my pick and my issues and what I'm attracted to?
I mean, I'd be really curious. So I'm like, I'm in this really blessed place in life where I'm like, okay, being in a stable relationship for 8 years, I'm like, okay, I get to like just be friends with like like women, and I'm like,
you guys met when you were 19. That's insane to me.
So we met when we were 19, and on the second date, I'm like, we should just like form a long-term relationship because of compounding, like you know, like there is compounding interest in relationships. Like even if we don't talk for 3 to 5 years, but then like just like the podcast is also a way of just having people like just talk to people once a year. Yeah, it's like once you know someone for 3 to 5 years, you're like, there's a level of stability and trust that can get built.
I started building those kinds of relationships, I feel like, at a very young age. And I feel like I had to adult at a very young age. And after going through like the past few years of trauma in my life, I feel like I'm in this like state of like regression where I'm just like, God, like this shit finally sucks. Like it's finally set in, you know, how much like adulting and living and can suck, you know.
Yeah, like now you do want the hand held down.
I'm like, now where's my freaking hand? Now where's our stability? Where's our?
It's the kind of the in and out, like for years of just like, okay, when's the break? You get like school really fucks you up by giving you an idea that there's like you get 3 months off a year. It's like no, it's like this never ending.
Never. I went throughout all schooling in Eugene, so I like did my like middle school and high school and elementary school all here.
Wait, which school? I went to North. And
I went to
Kelly.
South Eugene in Roosevelt.
Opposites. Okay, cool, perfect.
I did the French immersion program, so I grew up speaking French and like staying with the same class for like years and years.
Kenzie was Japanese immersion, and
okay,
she has like a couple friends. Yeah,
she gets it. Yeah. I didn't make friends with any of those people. Any of like I'm not like in close touch with any of the Frenchies that I went to school with. Really,
I'm not really close touch with any of the friends I went to school with either.
But no,
it's like if I saw them, I'd love to see them and just like catch up. But then it's like, to have friends nowadays, you have to have some way of like, hey, it makes sense for us to like see, like nobody has the time and energy to like go out of their way consistently to like, I'm going to go to a friend's and just watch TV at their house. I'm like, oh my God.
No, my best friend of like 10 years now, shout out to Lizzie. She's awesome.
Shout out to Lizzie.
She's in New York right now, and so that's kind of sad, but I need to go visit her.
I mean, that's great though that you have a reason to go to New York.
Exactly. I know. I need to go.
Do people speak French there? No, just a little north of
Just
Montreal.
just a little, yeah, and then hop over the pond, and then you're in Europe. And
Across the pond.
everyone speaks French there.
Do you ever use it? Because I'm like, obviously being with Kenzie, I'm like, it's really fascinating because we were talking about like if we're ever gonna have kids, and then it's like, would you want them to learn it? Because again, much like sleep, everyone's like, you should teach a kid a second language. I'm like, I personally, I'm like, I'm really happy I just learned one language. I feel like I really got a grip on it.
Yeah,
I feel like I'm like
I got it.
Yeah, I'm curious.
I got it down, man.
Yeah.
I know my vocab.
Yeah, or yeah, and more or less, I'm just curious. And hey, maybe I would have been way better at communicating with people if I did know a second language. But it seems like you probably don't get to speak with people in French that often.
Not like communicating with people, but I think learning another language. So I speak English, French, and Italian.
Wow.
And I
French and Italian
recently
are similar?
did get to use it in Europe. I was supposed to be in Europe like this whole year for a very spontaneous decision to go get a master's degree in France
In what?
in art and culture management. Which
Wait,
is
like you manage artists?
no, like more like historic preservation. I got my
Ooh,
bachelor's
so like the
degree.
Smithsonian,
Yeah,
like if
I
you
got
could-
my bachelor's degree in history, and then but I've been like painting for 10 years, so I'm like obsessed with that.
Oil or acrylic or
Watercolor now,
watercolor? Fascinating.
and
So-
like cartoon artwork, like really weird. Like I don't
Yeah.
know. Dr. Seuss is my biggest inspiration.
I mean, Dr. Seuss touches everyone at some point in their life, so that's great.
Dr. Seuss, Picasso, Vincent Van Gogh,
eclectic.
all the OGs.
Yeah, they're kind of OGs, but yeah, you normally don't see like Vincent Van Gogh and like Dr. Seuss. You're like, those two are just like
Even
same
though
level.
I went and I got a college degree and I feel like I'm pretty well educated, I don't think I'm like the smartest person or anything like that. I feel
How
like
would you be the smartest person at
or
painting?
not the smartest person, but I just don't feel like I'm a very smart person at sometimes. Like
at specifically art or history or what?
or just like yeah.
it seems
Sometimes
like
I
memorization. If it's
I feel like I'm a sim that is like got like a bunch of skills that are like one level, and then like they've got like a level 7 painting skill,
Yeah.
or like a level, only 2 skills that have been like, okay, that's actually pretty practiced.
where they tie together. Or you
yeah.
mean, like, so okay,
Yeah.
okay, that's really fascinating that you kind of lay it out that way because.
Yeah.
Much like I'm like, oh, hey, let's form a relationship early. I was also like, okay, so my first skill is I put an album out, and I hate music. I hate making music. I never want to play live music, but like that's how I know audio
That's
engineering.
awesome. Yeah.
And then from there, then I learned video. Like,
Yeah.
and then I like wrote. Like here's a screenplay
Oh,
because I was
that's
like I
awesome.
tried writing a book and it didn't like
That's
I don't have
amazing.
imagery in my head.
Yeah, that's
And
great.
so like that was like okay then storytelling. So I'm like ideally I'd make like a TV show. It'd be really I think currently be my goal like
Yeah.
a heavily improv comedy
Yeah.
sketch TV show
Yeah.
like Curb Your Enthusiasm. But stacking your skills like you should honestly just see if your skills can like,
Yeah.
if there's a way to like honestly like video is like cheating because. Okay, I'm making shirts. It's like, okay, great. Now I can video the shirts.
Yeah.
You know, like it's kind of like
Exactly,
finding
yeah.
skills that kind of work with all the
Yeah,
others was.
yeah.
And now I'm getting more specialized. Like if the first thing I learned was,
Right.
hey, like really in depth about fabric knowledge, and then like, like this was like like a tertiary.
Hey,
like,
that's
oh.
pretty good advice. I mean, I think the more successful artists that I know right now, they do their art, they do their niche.
And they hustle.
But
Probably.
they're always putting out product, but they're always videotaping their product. They're always like putting videos on like TikTok or like Instagram, like the like
Yeah.
stop motion of how they created their
And I'm so
they're like on
funny enough-
YouTube
Yeah.
and they talk about they'll talk about the business outline
Yeah.
of their art business, quote
and,
unquote.
and like it's like I see it and I'm like to the point where I'm just sick of it. So like
yeah,
okay,
no, I
so
don't watch any of it.
Yeah, so
I don't watch any of it.
I filmed so I have like 400
This is
500
nice.
hours. I have
This
four,
is discreet.
yeah.
Your
But so I haven't
shirts.
posted really any of it. Like I posted an overhead of
Like
when,
how
when I
you're
finished the
making
shirts.
and
No, like
pressing?
just unfolding and folding. Oh my god, all my shirts, all my.
A
I don't know if I
folding
can use
documentation.
It. Just so, because I'm like I didn't want to sell it, so I was gonna be like, okay, look through this 10-minute video of like it's like sped up super. I'm like screenshot one, send me an offer, and then I can sell it. Like because I'm like. It would just take way too much because I didn't make them
really
to sell.
awesome because it looks like, gosh, I mean, like, how much work does it take to make one or two, like if you sat down and did a day of tie-dye or not, excuse me, bleach dyeing.
It's
Because this is
really-
a lot of product. Like, I make So I make cards. I make like greeting cards and like postcards.
And then you make copies of them, or like
and
just
I'm
the
like
OG?
just now trying to like scans are expensive.
Scans are.
Can be like $10 a scan for
Yeah.
a nice one.
The interesting thing is, like, so I'm like, oh my God, because I literally have some letters next to my bed, because I'm like, it is a thing. I want to write letters to Kanye, Dove, so Dove makes the
You do?
I want to write them, but
It's
then
a
I'm
lost art.
yeah, and it's like I don't remember where I heard it, but
You
someone's
gotta
like,
put it on something nice.
no matter how high up you are, you never have someone else go through your mail before you. You have someone go through your email inbox or like text or something. But I'm like, that is a really good way to get to like a high level person.
Yeah,
But
and if you give it like in something like artistically done, like that's like even 10 points. They're like,
exactly,
this could be on my wall.
And if it wasn't a scan, it would mean a lot more. Even if it was a scan, but it didn't have like that Hallmark stuff on the back. Because if it was an OG, like, okay, this is the one of one.
Yeah.
I'd be like, the mail's gonna fuck it up. I know, or like it's like
right?
I'd be like, that's why
it's an original you're flying over.
so that's why all these came from. Is I'm like, okay, I have one, I love it. I'm like, I never wear it now because I love it too much. So I'm like, I had to go over abundance.
If you ever want me to paint you a card,
we could do a trade. We could do a trade.
We could do a trade. I'm like, so down. I love it.
You know, the card could. It could.
I'm eyeballing those pastels ones over there. I really like those ones.
They're nice. They're nice.
That's my niche.
Yeah.
I like those a lot. They look very like they look watercolor.
So
watercolory.
Those ones are maybe up. So all of those ones I'm planning to like. Those ones I've mentally. So I've had people come over and I'm like, oh yeah, you can have one, and then I like give them one.
Did I just eyeball the best ones? Is that what I just did?
Pretty much all of these are my favorites to where like emotionally be hard for me to give them up.
Yeah, there's some attachment there.
To all of these, but I'm like, those ones I've like, they just don't fit me perfectly. They're either too big or too small.
Oh, nice.
And
those are beautiful. No, oh my God, those are gorgeous.
So,
I mean, that's beautiful. I mean, gosh, that's amazing. My Aunt Debbie, she's been.
I appreciate you not calling it crazy.
No, it's amazing.
I mean, it is really odd.
I love it. So, no, it's amazing. My Aunt Debbie and I are like always.
Shout out Debbie.
She's amazing. Yeah, Debbie and Lizzie. So Lizzie's mother is named Debbie, and then I have an Aunt Debbie, and both Lizzie and I are Ashkenazi Jews by ethnically.
So you
Jewish.
could be a art manager. You could manage art.
Yes.
I mean, managing
Good
artists.
thing I'm getting into art management, but
it is kind of ironic that you're like, no, preservation.
But
of
I
it.
guess I'm a Messianic Jew because I was baptized as well into Christianity, which is a funny story.
Sounds hilarious. You dunked in water and you're like, you're not Jewish anymore, you're Christian.
I was dunked into a hot tub.
That's
and
funny.
then they look you into the eye and they're like, do you believe that Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior? And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. Like you're just like, I'm so
They'll
curious.
still dunk you, man.
They'll dunk you again? Like if you're like, I'm not quite sold yet. Wow. So it's like
your soul again.
Wow, that's fascinating. So really, I knew almost nothing about like Judaism until we watched Curb Your Enthusiasm, where Larry David. Have you heard about it or seen it? No. He's the goat. So
Larry David. No, I know Larry. Yeah. No, he's hilarious.
Co-created Seinfeld. Yeah. So his personal show is so heavily improv, and like. I always just assumed it was like, oh, it's like a thing people say, but he's like, oh, watching that show, it's like, oh, Jews are very cliquey. Hey, why would you ever blame someone for wanting to like work with people who they have a common understanding with? Like, I'm just like, it's funny. So the reason why Kenzie and I like click so well is we grew up both in Eugene around the same age. I'm like, part of me wonders, I'm like, would I be able to like form a life partner with someone who was from New York? It's like we'd have such fundamental different understandings of what it means to like do someone a favor, or to like, hey, can you wait 5 minutes? I need to like put on shoes or something.
Yeah, I have been in a relationship for a little bit now with someone who's from Orange County, and he lives a very relaxed mindset,
and that's pretty close.
I love that.
Yeah.
We just recently went wine tasting with his beautiful family, and we're treated out, and they're amazing. And it was in Temecula, California. And it was beautiful.
Wow.
I mean, gorgeous. Just drank wine all weekend and
celebrated. If you ever drop him, let me. Can I go with him? No, yeah. Like if you can connect me and him, I would love a beautiful.
No, he's awesome. I swear, but I have been like drinking a little bit extra with him because he brews. He likes to brew like so. We just brewed a fig wine and ciders.
Fig, I've never heard. So I brewed cider where it's like the bubbles at the top, and it's like that's fun, and then it's a little, and I big kombucha.
Fun. Yeah, but
I've
just
never
getting
done
into
fig
all
at
the
all.
different variants of wild fruit that
Yeah.
you can, which is why Wildcraft Eugene, amazing. Shout out to Sean.
Shout out.
Shout out to Sean. I think that's going to be a repetitive thing.
Gotta shout people. I mean, hey, like, you know, I don't know how often you document, but it's like, hey, like, imagine you're remembered for something. It's like, I would want to be remembered for someone who speaks high praises of people who I like.
Yeah.
So I love it when people shout
Sean,
people out.
the creator of Wildcraft, excellent man. He sources from only wild fruits in whatever area he can grab his hands
so
on.
wise.
So
I mean,
he'll go out to the farm.
It's funny that it's sustainable, but it seems like if I were like, I mean, me knowing nothing about it, I'm like, oh my God, I can't form a business based on finding things in the wild, because I'm like, oh, then I'd run out of that area. Like,
I need to pick
that's
his
so
brain
fascinating.
because he's like the
Pick it.
chillest
Pick
guy.
it. That's funny. Get it? Pick
I
it
need
like
to pick that
wild brain. Yeah, nice.
Because he's like set up a huge business for himself, and you sit down with him and he's like so chill, and like you're like wouldn't know sitting with this man that he's like this phenomenal business owner. Of you'll drink one of his ciders with him and he'll like tell you where he got the fruit that day, on what farm, and whatever he's doing, you know. I'm like, God, you know, there's a lot of intricate niche things that go into making a business, but like I feel like the outline for generally every business, especially in this capitalist society, is very similar.
Yeah.
And especially like when we all have to now compete with something called social media. Like
I was okay when you mentioned watercolor, I was gonna say, because I'm like, and we've all heard about like AI too much, but I'm like, I'm actually just like coming to face with, I'm like, because I was like, it's never gonna touch video, and I'm like, oh God, it's touching video.
Yeah,
so now I'm starting to like look it in the eye, and I'm like, how can I like manhandle it before it manhandles me? But you were like one of the first like things like kind of steamrolled or picked up, or like have you found a use for it?
I mean, I grew up in an era where I feel like everything has been picked up by social media, and if I would have just like gotten in with that like niche little artistic crowd social media,
If I would have just bought Bitcoin, you know, like that's no, honestly,
I'm like,
God,
social
maybe
media
I
would
your
have
soul.
like been able to be an artist by now, but
No.
I am an artist.
Yeah,
you know, like you
social media will drain your soul. So I film all this, but I don't, or like the podcast I put up for documentation, but all the 600 hours of making these, I haven't put it up.
Yeah.
Because I want to make a 1 hour documentary about
Yeah.
it once there's an end point. Because
Yeah.
like, but so my first,
Well, because
my
the
first real
mission
job
for yours in your mind of like doing
is to meet and work with Kanye
work.
West. Not even kidding. I'm not even kidding. Funny enough, I'm not even kidding.
Oh my
like,
God.
Feel this
To
hoodie.
have him on the show. Oh, he would love this.
No, he made this hoodie.
Oh, he made this.
Yeah, so
Oh.
all of this came from, I ordered one of his hoodies. So, and he doesn't put his name anywhere. There's no brand. It's all about the cut and the quality.
It is really nice.
So it's like essentially it just like it opened my mind, because up until then I was all about putting designs on shitty cotton. Like I'd buy a $2 Gildan.
No, this is nice.
And then yeah, I was just like, oh, like essentially like
So
I mean,
much
if you want to
more
try it on for a second,
cozy.
it might be too warm, but like
No, this is like all of my clothes need to be cotton, I swear, because it's just a way better. And then if you're wearing jeans, they need to be 100% like nice jeans, you know, like I don't know, you just need to like treat with like what you put on your body like really like preciously, because I don't know, like it's just, it matters.
yeah,
you
I
know?
mean, hey, I was in pain for years and years and years
Yeah,
without
exactly.
really knowing it.
It really matters. I mean, I tried on like 3 different outfits before coming on, because I was like, the jeans are too tight. I feel like, like this isn't feeling comfortable.
That's so funny. And you're sitting under a table. Who
yeah,
really
I'm like, well, yeah, but I'm like, I just needed to be comfortable. You
It's
know?
all about comfort. I've switched over to sweatpants, and so like
I
everything.
don't have a nice pair of sweatpants right now, and I'm just like, I need to comfort myself out. Oh my, no.
No, funny enough, I do have sweatpants, because I like, okay, so I didn't buy any of this to sell. I bought it all so it'd fit me, but some of it's naturally too big or too small, and so then it's like it gets parsed out to people who are slightly bigger and slightly smaller than me. And then eventually I'm like, oh, this is burdensome. Like I have so much
Yeah,
cotton that
so
if I move,
much.
because I have like cotton out in that room, and that's why I'm like, okay, my whole room is a warehouse.
You need an online website, and you need to get rid of all of it.
But I don't want to exchange it back for money, because I just
I
spent so much
guess.
time and
I
energy
guess,
turning
yeah.
money into happiness.
I
And I'm like, that's something
know.
a lot of people aren't good at. It's saying,
well,
like,
I often give away a lot of my best work for free as like gifts, just because like, you know,
I give away
I
give away my second and third best work. I keep my best work.
I give all of my good shit away, I swear.
Yeah,
it's
like
terrible.
I guess I don't use it for a year, and then what was my best stuff last year, I did just give away. That's really interesting to think.
Yeah.
But I mean, okay, so like to go back, so actually it wasn't a joke. The whole goal of all of this is to just to meet, and hopefully I just want to show Kanye how to make this, like, because essentially it doesn't have to be a whole shirt. I mean, a lot of these are actually just Yeezy Gap, like this is even tagged just as like a Yeezy Gap engineered by Balenciaga. It's
wow.
a Yeezy shirt.
Wow.
And it's just like that's so much
cool.
So much more in depth than a tie-dye. Like you'll never see a tie-dye that looks like this.
Oh, he's gonna love this.
I know, but then how do you get in touch with someone who...
I'll paint him a card and you can write him a letter.
That would be great. And then you'll get a shirt. And my goal is, whatever your goal is, I'll give you a shirt. And you'll meet someone and they'll be like, wow, you look so good in that shirt.
Yeah.
I'm gonna like take you to the next, like whatever your goal is. So
exactly.
like that'd be great.
It's all about connections, you know. We need to look at some videos, figure out what he likes, what kind of... I feel like he's like a simple kind of man, you know, simplicity.
Yeah, wow. You know, hey, spot on.
Am I?
Spot on, yeah. Honestly, I mean, so many people... It's funny. Kanye's become a litmus test for people of being like, hey, what do you think of him? Because some people are like, I hate him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he's trying to make American-made cotton, get rid of like realistically, he's trying to do a lot, but he just talks. Like, you know, he's just loud. So it's just a good way of figuring. I don't listen
to the news anymore. I'm
nice.
I'm off. I'm in my own world half the time.
Me too. It's a good judge if people are trying to find a reason to hate people, essentially. Because then I'm like, they might find a reason to hate me.
No, I can't. You know, and I have.
You don't seem very hateful.
I have like a handful of people that I talk to like in my life.
You did say capitalism in a way that like sparked me a little bit, where I'm like, people throw that term around, whereas I'm like, realistically, the opposite is like letting the government, like capitalism is companies, and the others, I'm like every time I've interacted with the government, it's it's been like the worst experiences of my life.
What would you rather have? Yeah, exactly. Companies in charge or the government in charge, and well, the government's been in charge for a bit. It hasn't been really good.
And it's been picking which companies get to be in charge. It's like, no, like Comcast. I hate Comcast. So it's like, I think people think of capitalism and they're like, oh, a bunch of scummy companies like Comcast are just like, that's what you're going to have to deal with.
Well, I was in socialist countries recently and they're no fun.
Are they not? Wait, what countries?
Well, I don't know if...
Norway and Denmark, and those are capitalist countries.
Well, is
I mean, that's
Italy
funny if they
a
aren't
socialist country?
I don't know much about Italy whatsoever.
Is it like kind of mixed a little bit?
No, I know nothing about it.
It wasn't the government. I was dealing with a lot of bureaucracy in
you're going
France,
to a new country.
In Italy.
Wait, like aside from passport stuff, like...
Well, yeah, I was trying to get my master's in France, and so I had to be...
system is bureaucratic.
I had to be... I had to get a visa, and so I didn't have like the... I feel like enough time to get all this stuff done. I was like moving to another country, trying to get my visa, which was essentially like a green card. I was doing a Schengen long-term visa. That was like for something over a year for time. Like if you're
to get a master's degree, it's 3 years.
So well, no, this was just a year-long program, so I still needed the Schengen visa for that, and so it was gonna allow me to like travel basically anywhere in Europe versus just France, which was awesome because I needed to travel for a lot of like my thesis and working and stuff like that.
Sounds like a dream place to do like the history like of art. Like
this is a dream. It's still gonna happen. I'm deferred until the next year, but now it's like just the process of like I just spent all this money on like trying to get there, and like now I'm like trying to like revamp, and it's just been hard, and I'm like trying to start like a little bit of a new career right now, and I'm still trying to focus on my art.
What career? Like completely separate, like
completely separate from
a new level 1.
Yeah, exactly, a new level 1.
Can it stack? Can it stack?
New level 1, but now I'm already seeing that it's stacking because it's like a 1099, and so it's definitely stack. Like it's
1099 means a contractor? Or?
Yeah, you're your own business basically.
That's what we are.
Yeah, exactly. And so it is kind of showing me these lifestyle skills of how to like manage my time better throughout the day, and how to like not, how to be your own boss. I was a waitress for like 7 or 8 years recently. So
but it's really interesting because I've worked jobs like that, and I'm like, those are when I did come home and have a lot of energy to like the con's purely coming from two things. One is I need to get off the computer, and two, AI can't touch this. So this is my like hedge against AI. And just a like way of getting away from the computer.
Starting your own business is hard. Like, and I commend you for doing this for the podcast and for crafting fabric. Oh my God, amazing! Like,
so we're videogrophers for like a living, which is interesting because like thank God for capitalism, because that's why I'm like a shill for it. What is it? He whose bread I eat, his song I sing. But essentially like we find companies that we really like, and they're like, oh, they're doing a good impact on the world, and then we showcase them. It's like marketing is such an ugly term, but essentially it's like, hey, and like nobody wants to do it themselves, so we just try to like be like a hype man for a company. I
kiss ass for a company that I really would enjoy and use, especially if it's like something like art product related or art business management like related. Like I would totally be on board for that. And that's where, as an artist, like in this day and age, it actually like is not a terrible idea to start like getting into like the social media marketing side of.
If you have an iPhone, I would say have the so 3 years ago I was not a videographer 3 years ago. 3 years ago I got a job making TikToks, one TikTok a day for a vehicle company, and then I did well enough that they brought both me and Kenzie on. She was in a nursing program, she got to lead it, so now we're both making TikToks, and then we did well enough so they gave us the Instagram and TikTok. And then they give us the ad budget, so then we're spending $500,000 a year on what was just TikTok. So it's just like finding ways to leverage. But again, all of that was on what we filmed. We didn't get a camera until a year ago.
And what were you doing before that?
I just graduated and I moved home and I was a bum. I was like, I was really working at like the podcast, but then I don't want to monetize the podcast.
Yeah.
And like, I don't really want to monetize clothes. Like, I really do want this to be a pure thing.
That's awesome. That's amazing. Yeah.
It's hard.
And it's hard, but you've had to find like a career niche like that supports that and allows for it. And it's not which is what I'm trying to do as well.
Okay, so like on the side or like in anything, like video will stack with any other job you have. And you don't have to like always post like it's like it's really hard because I don't really like, I hate posting. Like, I just can't stand social media right now. So I wouldn't even give the advice, like, you should be posting. I'm like, no, but just learning how to make videos compelling, which just means like, so if someone sees it, they're just like, okay, well, what happens? Like, that's it. If you could just create that emotion in the person of like, I want to see more, and not in a way where it's like, oh, it has a bunch of likes, so someone must like it. But I'm like, that's like the basis of like capturing people's attention.
Yeah.
And then it's like in person, it's I don't know.
Yeah.
I could go into it forever.
I need to do it. Me and my Aunt Debbie.
But it should be a fun thing. Not I need to do it, but more of like every day just be like, okay, can I just pull my phone out and just film, like just even like stand in the circle.
I know, that's what I'm like in like this like slum of I need to do this, I need to do that, I should be doing this, I should be doing that.
You need to start not thinking. I'm kidding. It's a meta need to.
It's terrible. I don't know what's wrong with human mentality in that.
I mean, it's everyone right now. I think people are like by far the most stressed, because I'm like, I'm relatively like an unstressed person, but even I'm starting to be like sweat a little bit in life, where I'm like, it's because as soon as you open social media, it's like, did you know these 5 hacks? You should be doing that. And it's like, it like grabs your head and it's like, you're not doing enough.
You're not doing it.
I know.
Are you ready to grab life
I know.
by the apple?
You're doing everything right. It's like, I thought like a month ago, I was like, a month ago I was like, oh my God, before cars, like what you were going to do today. So no cars and no phones. It's like, what are you going to do today? Like, it's like, okay. Like, it's just so much less. So you'd have like, imagine having like 3 or 5 choices of like, well, I could go work on the shed. I could go, I'm like,
which is what I've been like really enjoying about like that part of my life that I'm in a little bit right now, in between careers and life and
the abandoned man with the rich, with the beautiful family.
Yeah.
Okay, nice. Because he's like country living.
I I want to, so it's like, God, could I just fast forward a little bit right now?
No, they made a horror movie about that. Click with Adam Sandler.
Oh my God, remember? They did a horror movie. Yes. Oh my
he
God.
fast forwards through his life and he's like,
it's
no,
a horror movie,
fuck, I wouldn't have done that. You watched that movie? Yeah, so if I could just fast forward a little bit, it's like, no, that's the whole thing that he did in the movie. Is he just fast forwarded a little bit
until he died.
If I could tell you, the whole reason I really got into video is because I really just love watching TV and movies, but everyone's like,
Yeah.
you're being lazy. You're all like, everyone like, you should feel
Yeah.
guilty for just like relaxing for a second. So I'm like, is there a way I can make this productive?
Yeah,
And then
exactly.
it's like, oh, if I'm
There you
making
go.
videos, then I'm learning. And you really do. Like, if you
That's
start.
like me when I put on Avatar when I'm
Avatar: The
painting.
Last Airbender?
Yeah. Yes. Nice.
Very aesthetic show.
I love the what's his face version, the Cameron what's his last
James
name?
Cameron?
James Cameron.
That's not really a version of Avatar. Wait, you mean Blue People, or you
The
mean
Blue People
for
isn't that that's its own thing.
That's its own thing.
Avatar.
Yeah, not really.
Thing.
I would say.
Why is it even called
Yeah,
Avatar?
I would say not a version.
Oh,
Like they're
'cause
they're same word.
I guess I figured it out a while in my own mind that it's called Avatar, the Blue People, because like it's an avatar of yourself, like in this other dimension.
Yeah, kind of like a we is your avatar. Avatar: The Last Airbender. Yeah, it's kind of its own thing. They just picked the word.
I love
And then
the
James
Avatar.
Cameron's like just like steamrolled over it. Yeah, I don't think. I mean, it's funny. I don't know why I watched the second one. The first one was already horrible enough.
Yeah,
but the second one is literally
is
so
it
bad.
Terrible. I haven't watched it.
They just don't respect you as a viewer. Okay,
I
just
was
for
gonna
saying,
watch
like, what
it on
happens?
the flight back from Italy to Eugene, Oregon. I was not gonna.
It's good that you
or I guess
didn't.
it was
I mean, hey,
Italy.
hey, make your own opinion, like if you want. But if you watch it and you love it or hate it, please just like text me and be like, you love it or hate it. 'Cause,
I like stupid like children animation movies or like
Hey, I'm right
really
there.
like cringy, scary horror movies. Or
those literally scare me. That's how childish I
Yeah,
am. Is that I'm
yeah.
actually just the childish one, and like horror movies, I'm like, oh my god, that will like then I really won't sleep, and it won't be my choice. No, Avatar. It's like what they do is like, here's this bad guy. You really don't like him, and then it's like they kill him, but then it's like the main guy,
the James Cameron version.
yeah,
okay.
the main guy like dives down and he saves him.
I was
And I'm
like,
like,
killing
why
Zuko?
would he save him?
No!
Zuko, no, Zuko. No, but it's like the end of the movie. It just like betrays like what I've been building up as the understanding of like, oh, okay, cool. He's the bad guy. He's gonna like lose essentially.
Yeah.
The good guys win. The bad guys lose.
No.
But then the good guy saves the bad guy at the end
And
in a way
everything
that
almost burns down.
Yeah, it just completely goes against like. We had an agreement movie.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. And maybe I'm getting way too attached to movies when I watch them.
No.
But it's like, do you ever feel gypped by a movie where you're looking at it and you're like, what the fuck, man? Like, Babylon. Or there's some movies
didn't
where
watch
all of
Babylon.
your favorite characters die. I despise those directors. Like, I think those people should be banished from Hollywood.
No, don't watch Grey's Anatomy then.
I don't think I will. Yeah.
Everyone dies in that series.
Yeah, it's funny. My mom was trying to tell me it was good. Or that and ER with George Clooney, and I'm like,
Oh my
I
God,
think
no,
it would
none
just...
of it's good.
That would be my horror
It's
movie,
just
by the way.
like something you put on that is just like mindless. And
Mindless. Does it not torment your mind? Like, I mean, do you start having an itch and you're like, well, maybe that's malignant, or
I
like,
think
or, you know?
like it's like to the point of like you have to enjoy a mindless act. You have to enjoy being mindless.
I enjoy being mindless.
Maybe I like it because like I have such an overactive mind throughout the day, and like when I'm trying to go to sleep or just throughout the day, I like start thinking about the worst fucking things.
Wait, the worst things is in like, what's the worst things?
Like the worst things, like just things you've done in the past, or just like regrets or negative thoughts and stuff that starts to like get into my mindset.
Does your body do anything like, ooh? Like sometimes
Yeah.
I've noticed like, because I really don't get them that often, but when I do, I'm like, ooh, like almost like out loud. It's like
How
I'm
do
like
you
involuntary.
not get negative into a like negative thought process throughout the day? Do you just like stay like just stay in the happy place? Like I'm like, because like you can get in the happy place by like doing something or hanging out with someone or like doing something productive, whatever you're doing, but like to stay there
So you've thought of a really
constantly.
Hey, the fact that you're even open to it is really like a lot. It's an interesting kind of concept of like, can you permanently like never?
Yeah.
But like you could make decisions, much like you can make decisions that make you happier. You can make decisions that make you less happy or like sadder or more depressed or physically in pain,
Constantly.
right?
And you
there's
can
there's
do
no
it
level down
consciously, you
and
know?
it can just keep going down. And there's no like physiological need or biological need why you can't slowly like go the opposite direction. I would say. I would just say it's like really just like essentially. I would say that a big part of it was like I'm like for a lot of my life I've been like lonely, which is why I'm happy that I have Kenzie. And I'm like, I have people, and that's why I have the podcast, is like, I'm a very hermit too, because I'm like, sometimes I'm in situations, like essentially if I ever go to a bar or anywhere, I'm like, this is too loud, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
And it's like that's me making a choice to prioritize my happiness over society's envisionment or what it tries to tell me. Essentially, we really are, and this isn't my own thought, but we really are our own wardens of like you shouldn't think about that. That's a bad thought.
Yeah.
You're a bad person if you think about killing yourself or
me.
whatever, beating someone up or anything.
Yeah.
You're a bad person. Don't think it. Whereas I'm
but
like,
at least it's in here, it's in your mind.
But I think it's a good thing. Like, I mean, really, if you think a lot of them through, like, I'm like, really thought through. I'm like, well, what would happen if I kill myself? I'm like, okay, well, I couldn't guarantee that I'd kill myself. A lot of people screwed up. So I might just end up I might end up in debt. I might end up in pain permanently.
Yeah.
Even if I could successfully kill myself, I don't have any guarantee of what the afterlife is like. It could be horrible. It could be torturous. So I'm like, okay, once I think it through, I'm like, oh.
When I start thinking about that, I think about what other people would think of it. I'm like that much into my own like head about the situation. I'm like, well, who would it affect? I'm like such a people pleaser, which is a goal of mine, to not be a people pleaser and just be a grace pleaser.
Grace. What's great? Oh, because your name's great. That's fucking hilarious.
Which is great because I love how generic of a name it is. Like it's
a big term, grace.
I love it.
Yeah.
Like
the first episode of my show is named Race and Grace. I'm not even kidding, because I had this black guy who got his degree in black people. No, he got in like, I don't know what it, like race theory and essentially just like understanding the concept of like what goes, like what's the underlying systemic and systematic things.
I've taken so many classes on that.
I was like a 19-year-old idiot. I'm like, so do you experience microaggressions? And he's like, yeah.
Yeah,
it was fascinating.
College was lovely to me in the sense where I had the opportunity to try a bunch of different things. And like I did like international studies, I did like romance languages, I did a few different like fun like things like, but I landed in history because I just loved the being provoked, and I liked the professors in history that provoked me. And
fascinating.
And they were so like controversial.
It's
like
never
I
drawn me in. So like what about it provokes you? Because I always think of it as like, I think of that as something I have to do, is like I'd have to memorize it. So like what is being provoked by history?
Well, because history should be and is supposed to be non-biased. Okay, it's like historians that aren't good at their jobs that make it biased and make it into this thing that like people think is like well known or common or whatever, which is not. I think we all figured out in our first class in history in this hard program that I'm in, that we didn't know shit. Like the tie-dye poncho is great.
But wait, that you don't know shit as in that it's possible to figure out? Because I always thought of it as, well, it's already over, it's happened, and whatever's been like recorded, because I'm really about documentation. Like I really do like respect the craft of archiving and documenting reality.
Oh, trust me, I love it.
But it seems like even in like current events, it's like they're so up for debate. It seems like history is really just very ambiguous.
Yeah, it's not meant to be debated. I mean, it can be, but in my opinion, history is really not meant to be debated. I've got this kind of theory of one truth that we're all living in at the same time.
Please, if you could.
Even though I
got into it. Remember at the beginning, I'm like, "What's your thing?" I found your thing. Okay, dope. What's the one truth?
That we're all living the same truth at the same time. We're all having different experiences, of course, because we're in different environments and different time zones that are going on all over the world.
With different how you were raised.
But it's all happening at the same exact time.
Have you gotten down to
the truth? The truth is the reality of the situation. The moment. We're all living in that same moment each second that goes by. And so there's no skewing that,
Yeah, you really can't escape the moment.
That's what happened, okay? And if there's multiple people around seeing, maybe they can have like a different opinion on exactly what happened based on their experiences, based on their environment, based on their background. There's still no changing what happened.
That's true, because like if there are a larger percentage of the people, then that is the truth. Because my whole question, because this is a really interesting idea, but like what if people collude to be like, oh, we're kind of the bad guys here. let's all get together. Let's just tell everyone something different happened here. Let's tell everyone.
Well, that's bad. That's skewing history.
Totally. But I'm like,
that's what people do.
Do you think that? Yeah. So okay. So I guess how do you wrestle with that idea?
You just don't listen to it, or you try to. That's where debate in history comes into play. Challenge that. That's some of my favorite historians and professors that I've worked with have gone about challenging like the single story, the single whatever about an event that happened years and years and years ago that people have already forgotten about.
Let's take an easy one if you can like workshop with me. I'd really like just thinking things through. So Van Gogh cut his ear off. It's like I guess like because I just don't know how history is really like. I've got textbooks in my life and I'm like fuck that shit because I'm like I don't trust you. But I'm like if I really thought of it, I'm like he had a painting where his ear was cut off and he had family members that survived him that told, or like the person who got his ear,
like a scientific analysis kind of point of view where you're using the basic theories of science and of what like happened in his life and okay, date of birth, like I try to think of it like as like a query, like a health questionnaire, like basically.
Would he be someone who would cut his ear off?
Who, what, where, when, why, and so that's kind of what you just diagnose about the situation, and then you start learning about it as you're looking at the who, what, where, when, why. So if I were to write an essay, a historical research paper about Van Gogh and his cut off ear,
like maybe you say you think he didn't cut off his ear, like
oh
could you even start to like debate if that happened, or like what are the facts that he did cut, and that's just me thinking in the moment because you said he was one of your heroes.
I'm like maybe we'd have to get some good primary resources. Primary resources are everything. You said you're into archives.
Well that's why I'm doing this, is so my life's not debatable. No, I'm kidding. So like his family would leave like a diary from a family member, or what?
I would probably go into some kind of archives that you can find and hopefully figure
slightly more specific. Like what would be in that like the word archive? I'm like I think
go to an archive.
They didn't have video. I can't afford it. I hardly leave the house.
You'd have to go to France. I mean, that's the thing is like historians
or like what sort of thing
they
would an
start
archive
research
look like?
Projects like that. Like there'd be a historian out there that is their life is dedicated to Van Gogh and his fucking ear.
Okay, so it's
so they're gonna go travel to France.
So you just find an older person
archive
like at the tail,
and start their research
so it's
like my
that makes sense.
A history professor, I knew she had a fascination with the Alamo, so she based a lot of her work out of there, and then she was doing work with Church of Latter-day Saints and figuring out more about the beginning of Mormonism. So she goes to Utah and Salt Lake City. So like
it's like journalism.
Yeah,
I guess so. Like
huge.
And like okay, so
huge,
if you can meet me halfway here, I'm lost, but I want to be found in terms of like I gave an option of like his diary would be one example of like what I could imagine being an archive.
Yeah.
But so if that didn't exist, would it essentially be like someone was interested enough in his life that they're credible, and then someone's like catches
secondary sources.
So it starts being like that's there's a trustworthy like lineage of
and then
people
you
reporting
get like secondary sources that can that's why primary sources are so important and need to be historically preserved,
which is like
because secondary sources come after the primary source, and they're gonna be tend to be opinion based but say like a primary source like statistics, like a set of like a list of like people clocking in for work or something for a set amount of time. That can't be skewed. Like that's like a set that's documented. That's a primary source. And then so secondary sources based off of that, like someone writing up
let's say once that computer dies,
how many boys or how many girls clocked in that day. Well, that's a credible secondary source too, because it's literally based right off of that primary source. There's no bias in it, and it just is straightforward facts. It's basically like looking at the primary.
That makes sense. So
those are good sources.
The original documentator. So documentation back then, when there wasn't video, was someone writing something down. So it'd be a really old journal. So I was kind of in the right area.
Hey, that's why the printing press was banned for so many years.
It's because why?
Because
you document
misinformation,
oh my god, this is so funny how much it goes back. So I'm curious if you like, let's just say you just wanted to test a theory, like do you think it could be possible for someone today to start the idea that, oh, it was just an artistic thing that he sent his ear to a lover. He didn't actually do it. And I'm curious if you could confuse the source, or like essentially obfuscate. If there's no original source and it's all secondary sources, like I assume secondary sources closer to the event are more credible. But like
probably,
essentially,
but
it's really
maybe
fascinating.
not. You know, maybe not. And that's something funny to look at, like the Bible, for an instance. Like,
I guess that's our history, huh?
Like, gosh, like what did the first Bible look like, and how has it changed since then?
Well, and it was just spoken word. My understanding of it.
Exactly.
I guess okay. That's great. You're Ashkenazi Jew. Is the Old Testament Jewish? Was it just verbal for like 1,000 years before it was ever written down?
On
right?
The Torah.
The Torah.
Yeah, the Torah.
Is the Torah the Old Testament? Are those synonymous?
No, those are different.
Okay.
Do the Torah is
these
like
are the Jewish questions I really need answered. Funny enough, I'm like, okay, I have like vague understanding.
No, and the Old Testament's dark. Don't worry about the Old Testament. Put that out of your.
So that's Christianity. So the Old Testament is Christianity.
Yeah, I think, I'm terrible.
You don't know.
I'm a
Okay,
terrible
cool.
Jew.
Hey,
I'm a terrible Jew. I'm a terrible Christian as well.
They seem conflicting.
Yeah, I mean, God, we could look it up right now.
No, but I've tried looking it up and I've been confused still.
I love Google. I am a huge advocate for chronic use of looking things up.
I'm usually a big fan, but like, and essentially, I'm like, my understanding is like,
if it's something basic.
Yeah, I don't. Pretend I never said the word First Testament or the Old Testament. Mostly, I'm curious. I'm like, before the Torah was ever written down, like. It was just like said from person to person for so long. Yeah. That's like the primary source. Yeah. Is like fictitious.
Now
like
that can get
Fugazi.
Skewed as well.
but like there's so many different recounts between like the Abrahamic and like and I know nothing about religion. I'm like fascinated about an idea of like, okay, here's an idea that's captured millions and billions of people through all of human history. Like clearly there's something there worth that brings value into life.
I like the historical side of history, like. Not the historical side of history
squared.
But the historical side of religion. But I'm like more. I'm more into just faith and belief.
I got water in my nose when I went in the bathtub, and I'm like, call it quits.
I'm just here for the faith, for the good belief, and for
that's my takeaway.
I'm like done. I'm done trying to reinterpret what's already been reinterpreted for thousands of years. I'm just here to.
You have enough to interpret in your own life of like the only things that happen to you in your own, like, at least for me, because I wasn't raised religious, but faith is something. Because like religion almost was like uncool for like a lot of like our like we're similar-ish age. It is uncool to be like, or like it had an uncool idea.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, so it's not popular to like talking about it with like friends or maybe not so much. I mean,
and I didn't have specifically religious friends because I wasn't going to those places. So for the longest time, I'm not a podcaster. These aren't tie-dyes. I'm not religious. But then I'm like started thinking about it. And I'm like,
I guess I
have to have faith. Just faith. Faith alone is like, okay, I think that if I try my best and I'm doing good something good will happen in the future.
It's good to grow and to understand, that you can change your mind and your thought process on anything at any time.
Yeah.
And especially going through certain traumatic events, like I'm not the same person I was like years ago. Like absolutely, completely changed. I think from a young age, I always knew that maybe I was bound to get dealt a wrong hand, and I didn't know when, and I didn't know, but
do you think your hand's been dealt, or do you still have that looming fear?
No, I don't know if it has been yet.
Okay.
I don't know if it has been.
We might have to continue. So we've done an hour. More or less, Kenzie and I have a place to go to at 6. So I'm like, 6, in 15 minutes to wrap it up. But pretty much I want to like recenter ourselves. I'm like, oh my God. we hardly, we got very sidetracked. Yeah. So... Man, it seems like if you could do anything to dissuade that looming, because you have no proof of that looming feeling other than it's interesting.
I was really afraid of death at a young age.
Oh my God, me too.
Funny.
in ways of like I got told an asteroid could hit the Earth,
ironic.
And I would stay awake in bed all night because I'm like, oh my God, how do I know when it's going to happen?
Yeah, and so now that fear is completely gone, and so who knows what will happen now. Losing your partner at a young age, or someone that
meaningful person in your life. Yeah,
we were in love, and that was
nice.
it.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah. I'm really sorry that happened. I mean, I love Joey. I mean, I fucking talked to the guy like 3 times in my life, and I loved him. So I can only imagine if you spent anything.
Well, just
more
listening to that podcast that you guys had is so endearing and sweet, because it seemed like you guys had such a good relationship in such a short amount of time.
But people listening to this
is easy to do because you can open up so much in such a short amount of time. Like, you got to learn things about Joey that took me years to get to know.
Yeah, he was an open. So not everyone's an open book.
Oh, I'm quite the same, and that's why him and I've been holding back just like a little bit, just for time, and also like I don't know, like, gosh, who's gonna find this? I was thinking in my head,
Totally.
But God, I've lived a crazy life. I've seen some fucked up shit, and man, I've seen some crazy shit. So it's like,
yeah.
And so him and I wouldn't look like, the type of person that would. And
no.
So I think when people met me, when he would introduce me to people, they'd be like, oh, who's this like girl next door looking
who's
girl?
Who's the preppy chick?
Yeah. And he's like, oh, don't mind Grace. Yeah. She smokes fat weed. She's in the corner.
She's cool.
She's cool. But it was still something maybe he felt like he had to keep from me. Because I knew he, did a bunch of shit. I didn't care. I partied as well. I didn't, and I think like if he had been maybe, hey, you can think about this all you want. For people who have lost someone close to them to addiction at a young age, you can look back all you want at, oh, maybe if I would have known sooner, maybe if this would have, maybe, we had a huge argument like 48 hours before he died, and like, he was calling me bitch, and I was fucking, yelling at him, and like, then 48 hours later, I get a call from his brother, one of his brothers, and who's worried, and I rush over to the apartment, and I find boyfriend dead. So
that's that complexity happened. The complexity that would happen just from that, because there's no answers. No. You never know if it played truth. Into, and that's fascinating.
That was the single truth. If you wanted to know what happened, that's what happened.
And 48 hours is a long time, and like
we got in a big fight, and then I don't know if it was suicide or not, because the crime scene that I come upon is like, I see the stuff, I see like, gosh, now I'm like, I don't know. His family might not listen to this. I don't know. I don't care.
And realistically, like I'm not promoting it, and really we don't even have to include your name. Like it could just be like
great.
episode.
I love
like,
it. No,
right? Like it's
great.
essentially it exists. You can find it, but like it's not something that people are really gonna find it. And like you could, like I could just do like a pseudonym, like anything. Like I just want to talk to people without tech. Like funny enough, without tech, like without people on phones.
I know.
It has to. Yeah. But anyways, this has been super fascinating, and I mean, like it'd be fun to like. I never know when people come on, because some people are like, so interview me, Mr. Interviewer, and then I'm like, oh, okay, like I get really bored of asking some people, but you have, funny enough, lived a very fascinating life for for
a very short amount of time too. I know, and well, it's because my father lived a crazy life. Yeah, I was raised by a weed grower and a nurse, so that's from Northern California, if that says anything about where I come from a little bit. He was a hardcore guerrilla grower, and so I grew up with a huge idea and perception of drugs as it was. I was taught what cocaine was when I was like 6 years old.
Holy cow.
Because that's so fascinating. My dad's dad passed away when my dad was my age-ish, around, to cancer, but he shot up cocaine like his whole life. And so, like, Joey and I were able to talk about this kind of stuff.
And not a lot of 18-year-old girls, like a lot of like people when they're discovering cocaine.
We fell in love,
yeah, because you probably like had an understanding of it that was more so, like just.
We were just
nuanced.
able to talk.
Yeah, that's so cool.
And it was love at first sight. People, I think it exists, and I've been asked this multiple times. Do you believe in love at first sight? Who was the one that got away? Like. it was Joey. It was always Joey. I loved him.
What do you think about your current like partners and future?
He's amazing. He's so supportive. That's
so fascinating.
On the first date or the second date, like I told him about everything that happened, and his reaction was, "Tell me more," and I want to know more. And then when we met, or when I introduced him to Midas, who also recently passed away, he loved him, and he was like, this guy is great. He's accepting in every open-minded aspect of your crazy life.
That's so some like I'm like, I try not to be like, I'm such a self-aggrandizing person, but like some part of my ego would be like, well, I bet I can make you fall in love with me. Like people do people not do that? Because I'm like, oh my god, if someone like openly told me like, hey, yeah, we can date, but I will always like, they're the one who got away. Like I would be like I would have some essence of being like...
You're competing with a dead man.
I know.
That's the other hand. Is like...
Wow.
And Joey and Christian would have gotten along, you know. They would have really liked each other. Because Midas and Joey were kind of a thing-ish on and off. Joey liked everything and everyone. And so that's how Midas and I became really good friends. And so when Midas met my current partner, Christian... he fell in love with when we were quite the little tribe together, and so losing Midas was really, really difficult for Christian and I, and we spent some time apart, and because I was like, God, I lost my ex, and now my best friend, like what are we fucking, like, what's my life doing right now? Things are kind of spiraling, people are dying, am I gonna die next? I kept making bad decision after bad decision, and so when you are on the roll like that, it's like hard to see when it's gonna get better, and it's gotten significantly better. It's still not like where I want it to be.
What played a role like in that just like the like lifting back up, like if the plane's going down, like what kind of like just changed the direction, like is it many things or like just
support? I think just a lot of good support. My parents are amazing. They're amazing people. I didn't grow up in Orthodox setting at all, and so they're awesome and great about it. So just a lot of support.
It's really
not letting
interesting.
The plane crash. I got flight attendants on board. I got my private. I got my first mate.
So I always wish people would like be open of like what it's like to meet someone for. Maybe I'll start doing this to all guests. Okay, early on you said you have a bunch of like level 1 skills. I would also say that might be a positive. I was saying like skills tech, but I'm like in some ways you're level 1 Jewish, like where you weren't raised like hey, like you were told like, oh, what cocaine is. So I'm like, that's so like fascinatingly different. You're like, you were given a lot of
I know about
like
these drugs, even though I haven't used all of them.
It seems like you were given like a really steady platform of understanding, whereas a lot of people, by the time that they start getting a second input, they're already like 18. So it seems like from 6 you had contradictory like information.
Perspective.
That's like
lots of perspective.
Like I mean, obviously, like I just don't like. I'm amazed, and it's just that's a possibility. Like, and it's really interesting.
Joey was a lot like that too. He had to learn how to grow up from a really young age, and in his own hard way. I did too, and I think when we knew each other, I thought his upbringing was a lot worse than mine, but God, potato, like you had a really shitty childhood, and I had like the best childhood you could have in a shitty situation, if that makes sense.
It does.
Like he had the worst like childhood you could have in a good situation.
That's so fascinating.
Like it's like, oh shit, God, and he got to see his dad after you guys did that podcast, I'm pretty sure. Or maybe he recently had just seen him or something like that, but he hadn't seen him since his dad was deported when he was like 8 years old. He'd been through some shit, and God, did I find some guys in my life who had been through some shit, and also spoiled little fucking babies. But I'm with a solid person right now who's like the most understanding like rock in the stream of my crazy life.
Nice.
So I know you can't fit the whole soap
would you
opera
come?
in.
Like, we have a third mic. Would you want to come back on with him? Is he like? I mean,
Christian?
yeah.
Oh, he'd love it. Yeah,
Great,
yeah.
perfect.
No, he'd love it.
Right,
That'd be
because
really
I'm like I feel bad cutting it because I'm like honestly like I would like I don't want to
He's
be
so fascinating.
That's awesome.
I mean,
yeah,
like,
I don't want to be married to like I don't want to be married to the idea of an hour anymore. Like I was gonna be like when you came on, I'm like I didn't know nothing about you. I'm like I might cut it at 15 minutes.
Yeah,
just so you knew.
So
like
funny.
because I didn't like look you up or anything. I'm just like
I know because I'm in also try. I'm not out there.
Oh, funny. Great. I didn't
Good
try,
luck.
so like I saved time, which is even better. Essentially, I'm just like, I'll have anyone. And like women, there's a lot less danger of like, oh shit, a scary person knows where I live. That's a fear. Like when I had Joey on the show, it was at a studio.
Oh, right.
We're about to move, so I'm like okay with having some strangers on, but like you can't just like be like,
I
oh,
didn't
a
even
guy
think
reached
about
out.
that, and I'm like,
You're a woman. You normally would, yeah,
woman.
yeah. You normally experience that, and I wouldn't. But I'm like me sitting here. I'm like I have to be scared of men.
And then I show up shuffling all out of my car with all my
so
shit.
Funny. Yeah.
You're like, who the hell is this?
I'm like, that's so funny. So yeah, so I do want to continue it. Let's yeah.
Let's do it.
I'll just put this out in a day because I just don't edit that. I'm just gonna cut those two rather than like switching back and forth.
Cool.
I stopped doing that. That takes up time. Low bandwidth. So I'm just gonna cut it right down the middle.
Cool.
Both visible. This is great. This was a joy.
Oh,
Grace,
good.
it was truly a joy.
Thank you, Tiger.
Yeah, Tyler. No,
sorry.
Like, I'm okay. Yeah, but you don't have to be sorry.
You barely knew my name when we started, and I barely knew your name, but it's
I've known
so
people
funny.
for a decade, and they get my name wrong. It's like it's a fascinating thing. I'm like, okay, well, what can I gather from this? Like who cares? Who cares?
It's
like
so
it's not like I'm like they don't respect. I'm like why should someone respect me?
And I think the most special part about this experience in particular was that I get to see how many relationships I have actually created in my life post Joey death, like through him. Like even as he's like dead and no longer here, I still meet people that knew him and loved him, and we can still form relationships and bonds based off that are healing and great, and so it's awesome to meet you. And
it's a joy. It's a joy. He was a spark going through life, and like anyone who. Like it's just you can just see it in people. I mean, you're very easy to get along with. Yeah, it's a joy.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Cool. Yes,
Grace.
Perfect.
Goodbye, everyone. I normally have a clapper. I'm gonna